Three, two, one, let's jam. Hello, hi there, how we doing? Hanzo here at the Hanzo Honey House. Gonna get into some, I would say, a special. It's a special. No, I'm not gonna kid you. This is a special. 999 videos on the platform. It's kind of wild when you stop and think about it. How can one create so much content? I don't know. But I guess when you have a lot to talk about, ultimately you find a way to be presentable. And in turn, here we are. So today, we're going to do something that is a part of the brand. Every 333 videos, we make a, what is that, compilation special. Talking about games that I feel have a need to be represented in this modern day and age. So, here we go. So today's video is going to be 7 games I feel that should be in the next Capcom Fighting Collection Part 3. As you may know, there has been a Capcom Fighting Collection, which was more revolved around the Darkstalker games. We have a Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which was more or less about the Capcom vs. SNK games. And then we have the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Arcade Classics compilation, which was the Marvel vs. Capcom series, or the Capcom produced Marvel games with Marvel properties. So, here we go. As a point of reference, these 7 games will be displayed in their glory, the best I could present it to you. So let's get going here. So first on, we have a game that I feel does not get talked about enough in some circles. Final Fight Revenge. Now, this particular game came out in '99. It was their attempt to make a all Final Fight character-based fighting game. Mind you, there are some characters who have made it over to other Street Fighter projects, such as Guy and Sodom in Street Fighter Alpha. And then later on, Cody came over in Street Fighter Alpha 3. And then Poison and Hugo have made their appearances in various Street Fighter games. So in this particular game, it is quite literally every single character, major character from the Final Fight franchise. Granted, some of the, mob baddies are not here, but the main boss characters are. So, I think this game came out in the arcades in Japan. I believe it had a Japan release as well for the Sega Saturn, which is the version you're seeing here. This game, I feel, needs to be in the compilation because it's part of Capcom history that realistically doesn't get talked about enough here. Granted, it is a little campy, it's a little suggestive. Granted, the 3D models are a little on the rough side, but for posterity's sake, I feel the game deserves a little bit of coverage. And again, I make this video because it's a situation where I think people don't know what they're missing until they can see something about the thing that they're missing. So in this scenario, if you're not in the age range of, say, 30 to 35, and as of 2025, when this recording took place, it will be a case you may not know about this game. You may have not heard, your usual suspects talk about this really niche fighting game that may have been overshadowed by other fighting games. Like I mentioned earlier, Street Fighter Alpha was a better quality product. Street Fighter Alpha 3 was the pinnacle of the Alpha series. And then, of course, with Ultra Street Fighter 4 bringing over Poison and Hugo into the Street Fighter fold. Granted, they were a part of Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. Hugo as a playable character and Poison as his support character in the presentation of Hugo. And then Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, of course, as Hugo continued to be a part of the franchise. But there are other characters that never got the light of day outside of Fatal Fury, such as Eddie E, the crooked cop who was doing the bidding. Hagar, granted, Hagar and Zangief seemingly are interchangeable. But ultimately, these characters were kind of stuck to their franchise, and they haven't really done anything. There hasn't been a new Final Fight game. There hasn't really been any indication that some of these characters will show up in Street Fighter 6, since that's in Metro City technically. They are mentioned very sparsely amongst all of the things you can do in World Tour mode. Shout out to Capcom for giving us a really comprehensive one-player mode that lets you explore the city and do objectives and gain your moves. But these characters, again, don't really have a means of showing off. But I feel Final Fight Revenge should be a part of the next collection. You let me know what you think. We're going to move on to the next game. So the next game we have here is a part of that Naomi board action that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has gotten a lot of prolific notoriety from. This one, I feel, again, doesn't get talked about enough. This here is Cannon Spike. Now, Cannon Spike is famously associated with Cammy White, Street Fighter character, very prolific, very popular. Some even would say the second lady of Street Fighter, as pictured there. In this particular game, you have characters from Capcom and original characters, much like Shiba and Simone, as they mentioned themselves in the title screen here. This is the Dreamcast version you're looking at. This game hasn't had any other ports since the Dreamcast when it originally came out. So you have Charlie, Arthur, Shiba, Cammy, and Simone, and secret characters, quote-unquote, because all you got to do is kind of move off to the sides of the screen. BB Hood from Darkstalkers, and Mega Man from Mega Man. This is kind of a fun arena-style shooter. Here, you just basically try to avoid the enemies and shoot them where possible. Once you get through enough enemies, you will have a boss battle, and essentially it is a score tag game. You know, you run around, shoot stuff. You have like, I think it's a 5-button game, maybe even a 6-button game. Yeah, 6 buttons. So you have light shot, heavy shot, light melee attack, heavy melee attack, a lock-on button, so you can just, lock onto a character and not have to worry about adjusting your shot angle. And you have a special button, which is those red diamond S's up there with your special shot button, whatever that special may be. So some characters like Charlie and Cammy, being from Street Fighter, they have their most popular moves as their melee attacks. So like Charlie does flash kicks. I don't think he does sonic booms in this game, but then Cammy will do her Cannon Spike, I do humbly believe. Simone here actually is very similar to another character we will be talking about later on, in terms of design, accessibility to weapons, and her presentation as a character. So the console version was actually harder because you had a limited amount of continues and you could only use so much. So it's kind of hard to check this one out, to be honest. It is pretty old, 25-year-old game. I've never seen it in arcades personally, but there was an arcade release at one point in time, and the only way you can play it is via the Dreamcast. So I think Capcom would do themselves a favor and do themselves some good to have this game in the next collection. So that there has been Cannon Spike, and in turn, we're going to get to our next game. Alright, so our next game here is going to be Tech Romancer. Now, while this title is a little bit older than Cannon Spike, a lot of people around the internet will say that this particular game deserves its place in a compilation of sorts. It is a mech fighting game with some really weird mechanics because the 8-way joystick is more or less just to move around the fight arena. And you block with a button, kind of similar to Mortal Kombat. And you have various attacks that you can do, melee attacks, and I believe you have some level of gun or projectile, considering that most of these mech games have that aspect to them, because everybody was chasing the Gundam lifestyle with these particular games. So this one came out on the, I want to say, this one came out on the Dreamcast, I believe. Or was it earlier than that? We got to be accurate. You know, accuracy is everything here. So this game did come out in arcades, and realistically, I believe, should definitely be in the discussion here. Yeah, it was a Dreamcast title, considering the 3D graphics. So there was a story about this game. I believe it revolves around G. Kaiser and its resurgence into the fold here. It says here it takes place in a far future Earth where advanced technology has made things calm and decent for the citizens of Japan and the rest of the world. However, peace does not last long when the alien tyrant Goldibus, yeah, invades the planet with its loyal followers, seeking to conquer the world while enslaving the human race with emotionless iron fist. And then a bunch of unlikely heroes get together and fight that. So it is straight up anime style when it comes to the dialogue here, and realistically, you know, the Land of the Rising Sun loves their robots, and we appreciate their love of robots because, again, Gundam's a huge deal. They've had a bunch of series about it. But this game hasn't had any ports. This game has not come out on anything else. There's been no compilations, no ports of this game, nothing anywhere. I mean, do they feel like it might be a copyright issue? Granted, I don't know of any other IP that actually holds the rights to this game. But we had Cyberbots in multiple compilations. We've had it actually in one of the fighting game collections, if I remember correctly. Also, it's available on Street Fighter 6 via the Game Center games you can play it, along with it being a part of the Arcade Stadium Series 2 that they have, which, in my projection, a lot of those games will make it into Street Fighter 6. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So if you see it there, may be available for an extra couple bucks via Street Fighter 6. So, yeah, check this out where you can. It is a little wonky. It's not really straightforward like the Street Fighter series or anything like that. It is an arena-style fighter that has special moves, that has items. As you can see, there's that axe blow technique up there, which you have to use the start button to cycle through those items. With as many buttons the current controller has, this should be pretty straightforward when it comes to presenting a comfortable control scheme. But nonetheless, Techromancer, make it happen, Capcom. I mean, unless there's some legitimate reason why you're worried about this game coming back out, at least let the public know if that is really the case. I don't really see anything wrong with it, but it's their product, not mine. I'm just here to talk about it. So, check it out where you can, Techromancer, and then we will be proceeding on to our next game. Alright, so our next game here is a game that, you know, has another affiliation to the Final Fight series to a degree because of one of the characters that was mentioned earlier. This here is Ring of Destruction Saturday Night Slam Masters 2. Now, some of you may know Saturday Night Slam Masters to be that arcade wrestling game that came out back in the day on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. But recent days, Saturday Night Slam Masters is a part of that previously mentioned Capcom Arcade Stadium, and it's a part of the Game Center of Street Fighter 6. Mike Hagar, former mayor of Metro City, is a playable character in this game. This is when he was wrestling for a living. But this particular version of the game, Saturday Night Slam Masters 2 Ring of Destruction, plays more like a traditional Street Fighter game. You have your lights, you have your heavies, and you have your grapple button, which allows you to do special grabs, slams, and Irish whips to the ropes there, because there is no walls, there's ropes, and you can use them to your advantage if you grab your player here like that. The scoop. Look at that. Bam. And then, oh, I get hit with a Dragon Punch there. Not fun. So, I think this game had about, I don't know, about, what was it, 10 characters, 12 characters? Something to that degree. It's a good time. I've never really played this one in the arcade as well. I think I've seen it all of like once or twice, maybe. I know I just said I never played in the arcade, but it maybe once or twice in some random hole-in-the-wall arcade. I'm like, oh wow, this game's fun. Again, never been ported to anything else. Hasn't had any compilation or any representation in any other compilation or game or release. This game hasn't even had a console release, even in the heyday of this particular game. So, dig deep in the crates, Capcom. Let's bring it out. Let people play. Online play might be kind of fierce. You actually might get some legitimate competition in this game. Because people love scooping people. That's like a favorite pastime of Capcom fighters as a collective whole. You gotta throw people, you gotta hit them. So, again, Ring of Destruction, Saturday Night Slam Masters 2. Check it out where you can. I think it's a fun time. And then, we got one more hit here. One more hit. Just one. There we go, scoop. Done. That'll wrap it up for Saturday Night Slam Masters 2. Let's get into our next game. So, our next game here is not a traditional fighting game. It's really not a traditional game at all. It's called Quiz and Dragons. Now, you may or may have not heard about this game. This footage was taken from the Capcom Collection 2 that came out on the PlayStation 2 era of Capcom compilations. Now, you look at the characters, you got a warrior, you got a wizard, you got an Amazon, and you have a ninja, all of which have passive abilities. The ninja here, since we'll work our way backwards, can do double damage, meaning that there is times where you answer a trivia question, like this one right here. Who lives in Never Never Land? Peter Pan. And then, instead of having to answer 2 questions, you only have to answer the one, because he did double damage, and cleared all the HP out of that enemy in question. So, why do I bring this up when it's not a traditional game? Well, as you may see, there is a variant that is in this compilation, which will change over to Amazon, who has the ability to cut down the wrong choices 1 or 2 times, giving you 75% chance or a 50-50 chance of getting the answer correct. There is a Capcom variant of this Quiz and Dragons game. Make it make sense. They made the game. What do you mean by that? Check this out. So, instead of asking normal trivia questions, they ask Capcom-related trivia questions like this. Which character appears in Resident Evil 2 and 4 besides Leon? And if you are a Resident Evil fan, you will know the answer is Ada Wong. You get a time bonus for how fast you answer the question, and in turn, you rack up the points and keep it moving. I don't know how many questions in total there are in this particular game. There's quite a bit. They range from, Mega Man, Street Fighter, other Capcom properties, like this question right here, Mega Man 03. Which numeric version of the Necromancer do you fight? I don't really know. I took a guess on this one and said 5th, which I was right. I haven't played the Mega Man 0 games. I really wanted to, because I like Mega Man 0. It's a fun, futuristic take on what Zero did after the whole Mega Man X games. So, this particular version of this game is locked to this compilation. This is the only way you can play it. And people love Capcom. They love them. They adore them. The trivia would be great. Like, for instance, this question right here. What's the advantage A group of CBS 2? Shadow combos, meaning you can do custom combo. That was the whole premise of the groove, and it's considered one of the best. You actually can unlock cheats for the other games in the compilation. So, this game deserves a chance. Yeah, it's not a traditional fighting game, but there's a lot of fun information here that people can enjoy. Also, if they want to support it and, update it, maybe we can go with some Monster Hunter Wilds trivia. Maybe we could do some Street Fighter 6 trivia. Maybe they mentioned Mega Man 12 recently. Maybe you want to I'll throw that in there. But all in all, I think this particular version of the game is fun. It's a little easier than the trivia version because that's some old trivia in that game. This is a 90s game after all, 1990s. Capcom game. The arcade machine only had the 4 buttons for you to answer the questions. So make your selections and all that. Like we just saw the ability for her to cut it 2 questions off or 2 answers off. That's another game that needs to be talked about one of these days. Little Nemo. But that's another thing for another time. So that's been Quiz and Dragons, and this is Capcom Quiz and Dragons. It deserves being a compilation for another time. So let's get into our next game. Our next game here is a timeless classic. If you are a beat-em-up fan, you have played this game or you have seen this game. The last 2 games on this series go hand in hand for people debating which one is better than the other. It's in the same vein as Warriors of Fate, which was in the Beat 'em Up collection. Beat 'em Up bundle, sorry. Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. And it is one of the, fun beat 'em up games that has special moves and things of that nature. This one's more traditional in the sense of there is running attacks, but there isn't really any input attacks, I think, if I remember correctly. So basically, you are a anti-poacher team trying to stop the poachers from hurting and taking advantage of the dinosaurs. As far as anybody is concerned, if you have empathy, if you have a heart, you will want to stop any poaching ever of anything. So this particular game has the usual tropes. You got your 4 characters that you can select from. This is a up to 3 player game. And you have the main character, Jack, who's more of a balanced type. You have Hannah, more of a speed skill type. You have Mustafa, which Mustafa is weirdly he's got some good attacks. He's got the most range out of everybody because he's the tallest person. But I digress. Moving on, then you got the power of Mess, the big man. You don't want to mess with that dude. He comes flying at you. You don't want anything to do with that. So each character has their skills, and then you just get right into it. Thugs try to punk you on the rooftops, and you're like, nah, no. We ain't having that. We ain't doing that. It has great music. It has great sprites. The sprite work is amazing. You really get it into the game. And it's just a fun time. It is a fun time. Yes, none of these characters are really associated with any of the other Capcom franchises. But this is a Capcom-produced item with licensed things from Cadillac themselves, considering Cadillac is its own vehicle, its own thing. And then you have the comic itself, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Just work out the schematics on the whole licensing thing. I'm sure people will be like, oh yeah, I remember us doing that. Why not? And you really can't say that the gunplay is a problem because we had the Punisher in the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, and there's definitely a lot more guns than that and all that such because that's the Punisher's character. I think, you tell me, you let me know in the comments. I think this game looks great, it plays great, and I think we need that. We need that casual beat 'em up experience in the mix of all of our competition. Because it's a lot of competition in a lot of games these days, and the casual player gets kind of left behind. Yeah, this is the boss fight from the first level. He hits that dino. So rude. But anyway, we make him pay for it. And all things considered. So, that's Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. This game hasn't really come out on anything, to be honest. It deserves a chance. It deserves a resurgence. Again, people don't know this game exists. I know because I was there in terms of seeing it in the arcade and becoming, lightweight infatuated with it. But the newer generation who started in 2008, 2010, 2014, they don't know. They don't know. So in turn, we have to tell them. So that has been Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Check it out where you can. And we're just going to let this rock. I feel like it's deserved. It needs to be cherished for what it's worth. I'm going to let this rock. And then I'll come back to you with the final game in reference to what they can do for Capcom Arcade Collection 3. And realistically, the final game, if you know me, you know what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to let Hannah finish her business here. There it is. Right there. Good times. Kick for victory. And then yeah, what a wimp. That's what you get for trying to scalp a dinosaur, you weirdo. What's wrong with you? Okay, so let the score tabulate. Let him try to run his mouth. I still want to punch him in the face, even though he got punched in the face pretty good. And let's talk about the final game, shall we? Now, this game here. Let me tell you. Okay? Let me tell you about this game. As you may have seen on the screen, this is Aliens versus Predator. Now, you may have heard that title used in other instances, but this particular instance can be argued as the greatest beat-em-up game ever created. Some Puritans may say Double Dragon. Others may say Final Fight. I mean, even some people might argue and say, I don't know, Jitsu Squad for the new gen. But this, in my opinion, is the greatest beat-em-up game anybody's ever produced. Look at the sprite work. Look at the cutscenes here. And once we get into talking about the characters, this is another 3-player beat-em-up game that had people fighting, like literally physically nudging each other out of the way to try and play one character. This game has only been ported to one thing. One thing, and I think I might put an image of it on screen because of how ridiculous it is. In, I believe, the European region, they produced a Capcom peripheral fight stick that had games loaded on it, and this game was the one of the games that was loaded on it. It has been the only time it's been available on console or some level of home property that you can use it on. Okay, you got 4 characters. You got 2 Predator types, the Predator Warrior, Predator Hunter. And then you have 2 alien characters, Dutch Schaefer, and then my personal favorite, which caused fights in the arcade, Lynn Kurosawa. She looks cool, she plays cool, and she uses a Japanese katana. Simone, as previously mentioned, in Cannon Spike, was based off of Lynn Kurosawa in this game. And then Lynn Kurosawa's hairstyle ended up being used for Ibuki in Street Fighter. There's that trivia. Probably shows up in Capcom Quiz and Dragons. Everything is connected. So as you see the cutscene here, Schaefer and Kurosawa are overrun by the aliens, but the Predators come in to help them, and they team up. They team up to fight the aliens and save the city. I don't know what the deal with this game is. I know there's rumors that Lynn Kurosawa was supposed to be in, I think, Capcom vs. SNK 2, which would have been sick. But Maki from Final Fight 2 took her place. But we need this game. It's criminal, in my opinion, to have a game with such beautiful sprite work, with beautiful gameplay. It's fun. It is a fun pick up and play game. Even though there's so much stuff on the screen, there's so many aliens on the screen right now for one person. But that doesn't stop it from being fun. It looks hopeless. Does it though? Does it though? No, we should be safe in here for a while. No, you're not. They set us up. You know they did. You already know. So yeah, this game, I will go to the high heavens and be like, you know what? Y'all need to make this happen. Considering the fact that Alien and Predator are now Marvel properties, because Marvel bought, or I think Marvel bought 20th Century Fox, but Marvel is also like owned by Disney. That's a simple conversation, in my opinion. Capcom was able to re-release other things that were done by other people. They talked with Marvel about the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Why can't they talk to Marvel about this game? Let's talk properties. Let's talk about it. To start a conversation. The fans will back you up. There are some old heads like me who are like, you know what? Absolutely. This game deserves it. And since these are older games, you can sell it on practically anything, and people will play it. You know? It's a no-brainer. I mean, granted, I'm not in the marketing business, nor am I in game sales or development or anything like that, but as an end user who knows about these things, come on. It's a valid opinion, and I think this game should be somewhere where you can play it with your friends, either online or offline. A 3-player online experience, if you could make it good, will be awesome. Kidding me? They had that for Warriors of Fate on the beat 'em up bundle. It wasn't very good, but they can make it better. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Tell me. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I can talk about something else. Give me some discussion down in the comments. And I thank you for watching. We may see you tomorrow or next week. And until then, you take care of yourself.